Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Happy Shochu'sday after a little bit of a hiatus from Stephen and I since we've been kind of trollopsing and traipsing around the world. Starting off with a Kanpai of morning sustenance. Kanpai. Stephen, how you doing?
Good morning, Kanpai. I'm doing all right. This is the one time I miss my standing desk because I'm seated now, and it doesn't line up with my bar behind me. So um,
Uh,
I'll come up with a solution sooner or later. But yeah,
you need a little booster seat there, Stephen.
yeah, right. The standing desk was actually reached a point where it was hindering my productivity. So I realized I needed a sitting desk to actually sit and work.
Yeah,
I just
the pendulum will probably swing back the other way, and
It
then you can
may,
be
but
like,
I got rid of the standing desk already. I'm
gotcha.
I think the part of it was brought about by some lower back pain I had recently, and it was really hard to spend any time standing. So
That'll do it.
yep,
That's more than enough.
sure. But anyway, enough about desks. The
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for being here. It's good to be back. I mean, honestly, we've been on the road so
Yep,
damn much over the last what since the beginning of July, and we're about to start it again. So hopefully we'll get another one of these in before we leave the country. But they're very hard to finagle when we're on the road and
they are for
conditions are
sure.
unpredictable.
Yep,
So
yeah. We tried a few of those early on a couple of years ago, and it'd be like 7 minutes of one of us standing on the street shouting at the other one, and not
yeah,
really good value.
nobody needs that crap. So
Yep,
we decided to spare everyone. And plus,
sure.
these are archived, so it's just evidence of the lack of planning. So let's let's stay away from that.
Agreed.
Let's see. What are? Let's see. Do we have any booze news to get us started here today?
You know what?
A little out of practice.
That's booze news. I don't. Oh well, I guess the big thing was that Shochu got a mention in the New York Times a couple of days ago. Um, it was actually a profile of Fukuoka. One of their
Oh, that's right.
writers came down and spent some time here, and they did mention the word shochu in the piece. And for the umpteenth time, shochu was misidentified in a mainstream media publication. It was
Yeah,
liquor made from rice or barley,
and
and
barley.
that's
Yeah,
it, rice
that's
and
it.
barley. And so, if only the New York Times knew somebody who lived in Fukuoka knew something about these drinks, if they could
If only they
fact
knew
check.
somebody somewhere
Yeah,
in Japan. Yeah.
yeah. So I
Um,
reached out to Motoko Rich, who's the Tokyo uh, desk and the New York Times, and she pointed me in the direction of the writer. So I'll reach out to him and try to educate a little bit. So
nice.
yeah, yeah.
This is
It's
yeah. Go
kind
ahead.
of thing the kind of thing we have to just constantly do is fix the misinformation and the lack of
Oh,
yeah.
believe you me, I just went through this. I told you yesterday I had been working forever to try and convince. I mean, we've convinced more than one
Hmm.
international spirits competition that they should not be lumping all Asian spirits together. It's wrong. It's hurting feelings. It's borderline disrespectful, and
Beyond
it's
borderline.
just a
It is
really
disrespectful.
yeah. It's a really bad look.
Yeah.
And we got another one across the line, and they have agreed to stop judging Korean soju and Japanese shochu against each other,
Oh, good.
and they have updated their tasting guidelines internally. These are not public documents, but they are documents that are circulated to all of the judges and influence the way that people think, like heavily influence these things. So
Hmm.
that was good that we got to clean that up. But it's just like, yeah, you fight these battles one at a time, and they all eventually will add up to something that's hopefully moves everything in the correct direction. But yeah, that's great that the New York Times is mentioning the word shochu. I mean, that just
Hmm.
means that it's gonna up this SEO for that term in general online. I hope,
Yep. Yep. Sure.
and hopefully it caused a few people to Google it and search for more information, and they will find out that it can't be made from just two ingredients. What?
Yeah.
It's 50 something? Holy crap! This is crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yes.
Anagman over here in the comments is cooking up some weird stuff. Little bottle shop in Chengdu, and um,
Oh,
and they saw
yeah, really
colorful there. Yeah,
nice.
um, yeah, they colorful gets around a little
It
bit,
does. It does.
just a
Yep.
little bit. There's not a whole lot to go around.
Fair. Fair. Yeah,
Um,
that's exciting to be able to find that. Um, nice.
all right, let's keep it moving.
Yep.
Um, let's see, where are we now? We've gotten to the main event. Okay,
That's right.
the main
Yeah,
event,
I
which is a feature of Denver Distillery.
I was
This is all you.
in Denver not that long ago, a couple 3 4 weeks ago, I guess now, and I had a little time to kill and reached out to um, the head distiller, uh, another Chris. We have so many Chris's in my life, but he Chris Anderson Tarver, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, is the head distiller, and they are a, what would you call it? They're not a brew pub. They're a still pub. So they're actually a bar that has a distillery inside. Um,
Okay.
and they're in downtown Denver, in a nice kind of, I guess, hip area with lots of cafes and restaurants and bars along a pretty wide thoroughfare. And they had a food truck outside. They were doing the big Denver Music Festival was going on, so
Oh,
they were
that's
going to have a
cool.
live performance. I had a stage set up in the bar. I was there before they opened, just in the morning to meet the distiller and get the tour and everything. But we ended up having a really fascinating conversation. He's a really interesting guy. He approaches distilling like almost from a craft beer perspective, where he's not looking to make one thing. He's just making lots of different things, and he likes mixing things up, and he likes trying new experiments.
Sure.
And uh, the previous time I was in Denver, I happened into a bottle shop that I found a bottle of his shochu. And
Okay.
when we did our episode on American shochu, we were not aware of this brand, but because it, for whatever reason, it might not have been made yet, or it was just hadn't gotten onto social yet. But the Denver Distillery has made a Kasutori Imo Shochu. So they
Right.
use sake lees rather than koji for their saccharification. And then they use sweet potatoes that they actually boil rather than steam, just because the
Hmm.
equipment that they have available. Um,
Sure.
but it's a really interesting drink, and I'd actually brought a bottle back for you and I to try, because it's got this glass stopper. I was
Oh,
just going to open it when you and I have a chance to drink it together when we're in person together. Um, but really pretty packaging, and how he got the idea was, I don't. So actually, we have a podcast episode coming out very soon with an
yeah.
interview with him. So I don't want to tell the whole story, but they were making sweet potato vodka, and to their knowledge, they're the only sweet potato vodka made in the U.S. And then he just Googled what other spirits are made with sweet potatoes, and he discovered sweet potato shochu, and he said, "Wow, I'm only one step away from making sweet potato shochu." So then he started trying to figure out how he could source koji and make koji, and realized his distillery wasn't set up for that, doesn't really have the space or the equipment. So he realized, oh, maybe I can use the lees from the Colorado Sake Company, uh, and ended up using the lees to make it. And he's now about to start batch 3. So then he's
Okay.
made 2 different batches. He's still tweaking his recipe. He does this all the time. His gin's gone through 30 different iterations, and he's always tweaking. So, like I
Very
said, a
cool.
craft beer mindset, right? Where it's just like one-offs, but they're all interesting and thoughtful. Uh, he does barrel aging, and he wants to play around with barrel aging for his shochu, which is great because he doesn't have the same handcuffs that the Japanese distillers do, where they're not allowed to have their liquid get too dark. Doesn't
Sure.
matter for him. So he's got some freedom that even Japanese distillers don't. And I think you and I talked about it. And I don't think there's any other Kasutori sweet potato shochu. It kind
Not
of
that I've never seen one. I've never heard
no,
of one.
never. I've never
Places that
even
make
heard
sweet
of.
potato shochu do not make sake.
Right, that's fair.
Yeah.
The other the other aspect is I wonder if anybody's ever had that idea of using the katsu as the source of their koji rather than starting up a fresh new koji inoculation. It's just a really interesting solution to his challenge. And
I take that back. Kinzangura in Kagoshima makes both sake.
Oh, they do. So they could actually
sweet potato shochu. So they
could actually do this. Don't tell them. Yeah. Don't tell them.
They won't watch this.
No.
they're in a cave. They don't even get reception in there, so they can't watch it.
Yep.
Like literally in a cave. I'm not like
no, he's not
casting aspersions here. Everybody out there, they are literally a distillery in a gold mine,
in a cave.
In a old gold shaft. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fun place to visit. But yeah, no, it really, really interesting. It turns out there's 3 shochu makers now in Denver.
It's wild.
So there's one making barley. There's the Denver Distillery, and then there's another distillery that we did talk about on that previous podcast episode. I think it's the Ironton Distillery that was making Kastori shochu from the lees from the Colorado Sake Company. So they're actually using the same lees from the same sake brewery at both Denver Distillery and at Ironton. But all of these guys that are now interested in making shochu, they've started to not collaborate, but they share ideas and they share information, and they're really learning from each other.
Very interesting.
Yeah, so it's this little mini network of shochu distilleries in Colorado.
Shochu exploration over there in the hills in Denver.
Yep.
Yeah, all of a sudden, all the the snowbirds in Aspen will be drinking, they'll be sipping oyuwari. I can.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah, I'll be curious to get your impressions of this when we crack it open. I got batch number 2. He did batch number 1 and batch number 2. I could try them both at the distillery, but now he's thinking about batch number 3, and so we talked a little bit about what his formula might be to tweak it a little bit more and get it closer to what we would expect from a sweet potato shochu made in Japan, because the lees obviously have quite a bit of character on their own, and he was using a lot.
Oh yeah,
and so.
And most kastori shochu makers in Japan, being sake makers, do a very poor job of integrating the ethanol component and getting everything to kind of work well together. So it'll be interesting to see how that works out. It is unwieldy, to say the least. Yeah,
especially we didn't get into the details of what kind of yeast strains they were using at the Colorado Sake Company. Unfortunately, I didn't find time to get over there and say hello to them, but maybe on a future visit.
Interesting.
So, because it doesn't strike me as very ginjo-y, fortunately, because I think that would just clash, right? All of those rich sweet potato flavors.
Unless it was like a yellow koji sweet potato type of concoction, but I highly doubt that.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, I take that back. The sake kasu is going to be yellow koji anyway, most likely. So. Who knows? It could work. If you think about a Tomino Hozan flavor profile,
sure.
It's delicate. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm curious. I would love
to. Yeah. No, I'm curious to have you try it, and I'm also curious to see what he comes up with his next batch. So he actually made. You know how the distilleries in Japan they basically have the potato masher as they come out of the steamer, right? The potatoes get ground up into bite-sized pieces. He didn't know that, and he didn't have any way to process them that way. He doesn't have the equipment, and you can imagine those steamers are probably quite expensive. So he has his regular boil that he uses for all of his different grains, and he
mashes them.
He built a homemade wood chipper that's attached to the boiler, and he puts the raw potatoes through the chipper, and they're basically they're sliced like potato chips. Wow. And then that's what's going into the fermentation.
Wow. That's after boiling.
No, that's before. They're going raw.
Before boiling.
He slices them raw.
You said raw potatoes, so legit.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really interesting. That'll make them boil faster. That's for damn sure.
Sure. Yeah. So it's a really interesting process. It's just fun to see how in some ways, he was just liberated from anything about how the Orthodox process is, and could just make it the best he knew how. And he's come up with his own method.
So
using his
interesting.
own equipment, and he's doing it in a distillery that has a hot side, right? So
Yeah, right.
it's just interesting how he's adapted his equipment to the job, and it's the yeah he said he looked into like commercial sterilizers and things like that, and there was just no way that he could afford that for what's essentially an experimental brand.
Right.
So he made his own wood chipper for the potatoes. I didn't get to see it in action, but it would be fun.
Spud chipper.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah. So
So
I'm going to give the episode one more listen. Make sure that we got, because it's our first episode that's actually almost fully uh, a field recording. Because I was in the distillery with my iPhone recording the conversation, and I was worried the sound wouldn't work very well, but it actually works quite nicely. So it'll be a little bit different from our normal episodes because it'll just be he and I talking in the same room. But Christopher does make an appearance. We talk a little bit to add context and that sort of thing. But fun episode, I think. I'm looking forward to
I
what
am
everybody
too.
thinks of it.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and more to come as well. We got some other interviews lined up, and should be a fun second. Well, I guess third. We're in the third quarter already.
Who would have thunk it?
Of season 3 of the podcast.
Denver, Colorado. It's
Yeah.
of course, craft beer is part and parcel, so it's makes sense that they would have that pioneering spirit out there to do something crazy and new. So 3 distilleries are looking into shochu right now, folks. So
Yep.
if you have a chance to support them, grab a bottle. Make sure that they see that it moves off the shelf, because if it does not, they will probably not pursue it.
That's fair.
Very cool. Final third of this episode is the newly opened or the bottle kill or both. What I don't know.
Sure.
Whatever.
I might need your help reading something a little bit here, Christopher, because my kanji reading is pretty awful. This is Can you read it?
Yeah, I can't. That's too stylized. The top part's like oku,
Yeah,
I think, but
yeah, and unfortunately they don't do the little hiragana on the side to let us know what it is. But this is actually a chestnut shochu from, where is it from? I think it's from Kochi. Is that right?
that I can read if it's big enough.
Yeah, that's all right. Anyway, it's a chestnut shochu from what's the distillery name? Himebayashi. Which it's not bad.
Himebayashi.
It's barley, koji, barley, and chestnut. It's pretty light vacuum distilled, but it does have some character. It's got a little bit of that chestnut flavor, and so it's been a nice, easy sipper. Just something a little bit different to open for the summer heat. It's been pretty brutal here in Japan and just about everywhere, I think.
Richard came through with the okuyo.
Yep.
Thank you, Richard.
Yeah, thank you. That's hard for me to read it the best of times, but it's it's a pretty nice little chestnut shochu. Something different, I guess, to tide me over. Yep. How about you?
I was sipping last night this delivery. Thank you. I was sipping this. This was not just newly opened, actually. I had opened it once many months ago. Kirameki no Shima Amami. So this is made by Takaoka and et al. It's a blend. And
Right.
This is, I forget the exact story of this one. It's some other interpretation of Amami, which is that brand. It's even available in the States. Anyways, I liked it a little bit better this time, I think. I don't know why I didn't enjoy it so much the first time, but it definitely is a little bit lighter and a little bit fruitier, and I generally don't go for that, so I think that's why I didn't approve the first time I tried it. But it has kind of chilled out a little bit and gotten rounder, and those sweet notes have sort of blended together a little bit better. So it was nice little sipper last night when I went back to it. Only 25% ABV, which, as viewers of this show will know, is a little weird for an Amami Kokto Sugar Shochu. They're usually 30.
That's right.
But this is clearly intended for a wider audience. So I
Did
tend
you
not
drink it?
to approve of those types of drinks. And I think that's maybe why I reacted a little bit less than positively to it the first time around.
Did you drink it with soda, or did you stick
I was sipping it straight because I
Straight?
wanted
Okay.
to understand it, and
Sure.
I sort of get it. I think it'd be nice on the rocks. I'm sure it would be great with soda.
Hmm.
I do
Hmm.
not have any soda at the moment because my bubble maker behind me is covered in old pieces of kimono, and I have to clean everything up. So
Uh, yeah, I mean it's peak season for sparkly, summery drinks. So you might
it
want to get that taken care of.
it certainly is, and I cannot tell you how sick of cocktails I am right now. So I'm on a devout like no. This is a no fly zone for cocktails until August
Hmm.
31st when I go back to the States and have to do it again. Man, I drank my IQ in sugar like 6 million times while I was there, and it was not cool. It was not good.
Yeah,
I gained like a metric shit ton in body
that's
weight. So
yeah, it's cocktails are high calorie usually. So no, that's definitely a occupational hazard, especially now that we've started to explore cocktails and embrace cocktails,
yeah,
understanding
the
the
flip
value.
side is I now
Yeah,
get them a lot better. I have lots of ideas. I know how to make a lot of cocktails. Like I can get behind the bar, but
yeah,
oh, geez, Louise, oh,
yeah,
what a shit show.
yeah. I had been doing a lot of cocktail experimentation, and it was probably about a week to 2 weeks ago. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna take a little break from the cocktail
I mean
experimentation.
a cocktail like some of these cocktails, it's like eating a double cheeseburger,
Right?
in
Yeah,
terms of
sure.
the caloric payload. And I ate a lot of cheeseburgers while I was in the States last time. I guess we could just say that. So I'm a
Sure,
little
sure.
squidgier around the edges than I am comfortable being, and that must stop.
Yeah, well,
But
my
anyway,
back injury certainly put me out of commission from my usual exercise routine. So I've put on a few pounds myself, but get back into it now that my back's
got to get
recovered.
back to
So
just the shochu and the awamori, so we cut the calories.
that's right.
All right, cool.
Cool. Yeah.
I'm glad we got number 152 in the bag.
We
Everybody
did.
who's watching this on archive, thank you for joining us, and we hope that you found something new and exciting from this show. Check the Japan Distilled podcast, which will be dropping very soon. The next episode. What number is that going to be? 50 something, 60
64.
something. We're getting up there. We're getting up
We
there.
are. What is it?
Up in the 60s.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't have it
No
right in
worries.
front of me.
Yeah, that
60,
sounds
64.
about right.
It'll be
Yeah. Okay.
64. Yeah.
Cool.
63. But in fact, we hadn't talked about it because we haven't been on for a while. 63 is your conversation with Mac from Kanpai
Max
Planet.
Hellman from Action
And
Planet and Kanpai Planet.
yeah, and it was really fun for me to listen to an episode produced by you because I've produced all the others. And I'm like, it would be a different show if Christopher was producing this.
Yep, it
Yeah,
might be a little bit different.
yeah,
What do we got? Okay, yeah, everybody there we go. He gets us back on track. Kanpai,
yep,
everybody.
yeah. Cheers.
Yep. All right. We'll be
Yeah,
back. I think we will be back next week. Honestly,
yeah. Next
for
week should be
the
doable.
final episode in a while. And until then, from both of us here in Japan to all of you wherever you happen to be out in Shochu'sday land, a very hearty and heartfelt Kanpai.
Come by.